I am Crispin Birnbaum. I'm an Access to Justice Fellow, and I'm very, very happy to be here today to discuss what the CAP program can offer you. I will give a short overview about CORI and then turn it over to the wonderful MassHire representative, Mona, who's with us today, because MassHire has an awful lot to offer. So let me give you a little introduction right now about CORI. CORI, if you don't know, stands for CORI, Criminal Offender Record Information. This is the official criminal record for anyone in Massachusetts who has a record. And CORI is limited to Massachusetts. So if you have a client or you are a person with a record, you will not be able to see on a CORI anything from another state. You will not be able to see anything on a CORI from federal court. You will not be able to see juvenile. If you have a juvenile charge or more, those are not listed on the CORI. So the CORI is the Massachusetts official criminal record for anybody with a record, and it's adult only, and it's Massachusetts only. So you will not see anything federal, out of state, or juvenile on a CORI. You also will not see anything that's already been sealed. So what that means is that sealing is powerful. Sealing a charge or even an entire record succeeds in hiding access to that record, even from you as the record holder. So if you are able to seal everything on your CORI, you will not be able to see your CORI after that point. It will be sealed or hidden. Now, a really great thing to do is to get a copy of your record before you seal it and hide it. I do want to say before we go on that studies have shown through data that our Massachusetts record system has a much greater impact on people of color and their families and communities, of course, as well as a result. So those of us that do records work, which I will describe in a minute, that's really sealing and expungement. Those of us that are engaged in that kind of work, like the CAP program, are largely doing it because of trying to reverse this disparate impact on people of color. So just be aware that a record affects everyone who has a record in terms of it being harder to get jobs, harder to get housing, and other opportunities. But there is a greater impact on people of color. Now, your CORI, as I mentioned, it's a really smart thing for everyone with a record to take that first self-empowerment step and get a copy of your record. Now, you can do this on your own by going to the CORI website, but what the CAP program offers you is a free copy of your own record. So we highly encourage you to take down the information when MassHire shows you their last slide. That will have all the information you need to sign up for the CAP program. So don't leave early. Stay through to that last slide of MassHire's presentation, and they will share with you how to sign up for the CAP program, which is CORI Assistance Program, and they will share with you how to get your free copy of your record. Now, when you get your CORI, it will be important for you to know what's on it, right? You'll want to know what an employer can see. You'll want to know what you have. If you don't recall, some people don't remember exactly if it was a while ago, which court was I in? What was the date that that case ended? Was it a felony or a misdemeanor? All of those pieces of information are important when we engage in sealing or expungement work. So you can arm yourself right off the bat with just simply signing up for the CAP program, getting a copy of your CORI, and studying it so that you know what's on it and exactly when those things have occurred. So what do you see when you get your CORI? Well, you get personal access to your record. And this is a greater level of access than an employer is likely to have. So what do you get to see? Well, you can see any open case you have in Massachusetts. Keep in mind, the CORI has only adult charges and only Massachusetts charges. So if you have an open adult Massachusetts charge, you will be able to see it. Well, what does open really mean? Open means you're due back on that court case December 15th. That's a pending case. It's not yet resolved. But open also includes, in the world of sealing and expungement, open also includes any parole or probation supervision that you have open. Those are all open cases. When you look on your CORI, you'll see a status field on the right next to every charge. Take a look at that. It will tell you if your charges are open or closed. And I'll show you a sample CORI in a second. So beyond what you have open on the CORI, you'll be able to see any conviction you have in Massachusetts adult court. If you have something from 1995, you'll be able to see that conviction. And then we also show on a CORI non-convictions. When you get access to your own record, you'll be able to see cases that were disposed without a guilty, without a conviction. Those are listed on the CORI as well. So some people think without this kind of a training, well, a record must be a record of convictions. That would be fair because on my other stuff, I got a dismissal or I got a not guilty. Well, those non-convictions are also visible to you. When you get a copy of your own record, you can see your convictions as well as your non-convictions. An example of a non-conviction is a dismissed case or a not guilty or something where only court costs were ordered to be paid. Now let's talk about sealing. And Gladys, I'm going to hope you let me know if there is a question that I should pause and answer. I'll just keep talking unless you come on and let me know.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you, Gladys. Okay, so let's talk sealing. Administrative sealing is one way to seal, and it's free, and it's by mail. So we need a stamp, an envelope, and the correct form to fill out with your signature. Now, there's a second kind of sealing called discretionary sealing, and I will explain how different that one is in a second. So if you sign up for the CAP program, you get a couple things. One is a free copy of your CORI and the chance to speak with a free attorney or an attorney for free. And that will all come to you if you register for the CAP program. So that lawyer will review your CORI with you and talk about whether you are eligible or whether you meet the criteria for administrative sealing. We call this one the easy kind of sealing because it's free and it's all done by mail, snail mail. Now, the people at probation in the Boston office have the authority to seal, but they're in exchange for it being so easy to send in a petition and mail it off, they have waiting periods for each of your charges. And what that means is that your charges have to be old enough to meet the criteria. I'll talk about that again in one more slide, but just realize that, of course, to get an easy route or process, sometimes we have to do the hard part, which is meeting the age requirement for the charges. Now, discretionary sealing is different. This is free, but we all have to go down to the courthouse for a hearing, make an argument to a judge, and the judge has full discretion. So you remember the scales of justice? Well, the judge hears from both sides and then can vote yes or no. I will seal or I will not seal. And the second difference is that a judge can only seal non-convictions. So non-convictions is what we just learned about. A judge can only seal a dismissed case or a not guilty or a court cost case. If you have convictions, the only route you can take for sealing is the administrative route to seal by mail. Convictions cannot go to a judge to be sealed. A judge can only seal non-convictions, and there will be a hearing and a decision where the judge has full discretion to decide either way. Now let's talk about how you get eligible for easy sealing by mail. This is administrative sealing. And the first thing you have to do is have no open cases. You can't have an open case anywhere in the country, anywhere in Massachusetts, in any court. All of your matters have to be closed. All supervision has to be over. If you look on your CORI when you get it, check that status field on the right. Now, if everything's closed, let's go to step 2. There is this waiting period I mentioned, and a misdemeanor or a juvenile charge need to be 3 years old or older before they can be sealed by mail. A felony needs to be 7 years old or older before we can seal it by mail. So let's just say, for an example, I have a 2020 misdemeanor that closed April 1st. I would have to add 3 years to my April 1st, 2020 disposition date if I was not jailed. If I was jailed, I'd have to use my release date and then add 3 years. So for a misdemeanor with probation, it would be April 1, 2020 is the disposition date. I want to seal my misdemeanor. I'd have to wait till April 1, 2023. If I was jailed, I'd need to find or know my release date and then add 3 because of the misdemeanor waiting period. If it was a felony I disposed of April 1st of 2020, and I was not given jail, I would add 7. April 1, 2020 plus 7 is April 1, 2027. I would not yet be eligible for administrative sealing. And if I were jailed on April 1, 2020, I would then need my release date and then add 7. And if some of you are feeling a little frustrated hearing this information, I want you to know one thing right off the bat. There are really good people that are out there wanting to help you. And the first step is getting your record. The second step is looking at your record to see what it says about whether anything's open, how old your cases are, whether they're misdemeanors or felonies. And please know that if we wait long enough, then you will be able to seal. You will be able to seal the easy way by mail if you wait long enough. Now, there can't be a conviction in the waiting period. And what that means on the example I just shared with you, if I had that misdemeanor April 1 of 2020, and I have a 3-year waiting period, I can't catch a new conviction in the interim, right? If I have a new conviction April 1 of 2022, it's right interrupting my waiting period on that original misdemeanor. And you probably can guess what happens. That original waiting period that was very happily ticking away stops, and it has to restart because it got interrupted by a conviction. Now, if you have non-convictions, let's say that your cases on your record, let's say none of them are old enough. When you get your CORI, take a look at how old they are. And if none of them are old enough for easy sealing, I'll go back one slide. If your misdemeanors are not yet 3 years old or older, if your felonies are not yet 7 years old or older, but if they are non-convictions, like dismissals, court costs, not guilties, another example might be what's called a null pros. If you have any non-convictions like that, it will say right on your CORI that it's a non-conviction, so you don't have to guess. If you have non-convictions, you can go to court as soon as you want. There's no waiting period for non-convictions to be the subject of a court hearing for sealing. But it's really helpful to have a lawyer to go with you to court. We highly recommend that you join the CAP program and work with the free lawyers they have so that you can get someone to talk with you about whether or not to try court sealing. But you have to have no open matter, and you have to have a non-conviction or more, one or more non-convictions. We all need to go to court. There will be a hearing in court that you would come to, and the judge can make that discretionary decision. So there's nothing automatic about this. Now, just for timelines, sometimes I get asked this question. If you file a petition in the mail for administrative sealing, it sometimes takes them up to 16 weeks or so to get a decision made, and they will send it back to you in the mail. If you try court sealing, it sometimes takes up to 2 or 3 months for them to give us a hearing date. Once we go to the hearing, usually the judge decides fairly quickly. Now, let me see if I can make this sample CORI a little bigger. Hopefully you can all see this. This is a CORI. Now, I've obviously blacked out this individual's private information to protect that person, but you'll see at the top of this sample CORI, you have the fancy state seal, and it shows you in orange lettering that this is a Massachusetts official CORI. There's a biographical set of fields of your personal information on your own CORI, and then underneath that is a gray horizontal bar. This tells you important information about your record. It will tell you one of the total number of cases you have. This is criminal cases. So if you have civil cases like a divorce case or a civil lawsuit, those are not on the CORI. The CORI is adult, Massachusetts criminal only. Now, this one says 1 of 8. So it's 8 separate criminal cases on this Massachusetts record. The very first one has several charges. There's a blacked out docket number right here, and then there's the first charge. It's a misdemeanor, disturbing the peace. This is out of Wrentham Court, and it ended with a non-conviction. Hopefully you can see my arrow. This is not a lot of guesswork, folks, right? It's given to you. It tells us the year this was disposed and the disposition right under the word non-conviction. It says dismissed. To the left of the dismissal code is the date the dismissal occurred on. That's what you need to find on your CORI. What was my disposition? Is it a conviction or a non-conviction? And here, the date to the left is the dismissal date. 12/11/17. How do we know when to seal this? You guys just learned. You take the fact that it's a misdemeanor and you identify the waiting period. 3 years for a misdemeanor. You take the disposition date here, 12/11/17. You add 3 years for the waiting period. And this person's misdemeanor for disturbing the peace in Wrentham was sealable any date from 12/11/2020 onward to today or after today. 3 years has come and gone. Now, let's look at a second example. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to show you guys where the status field is. It's to the right of every charge, and this one says closed. Now, you would need to look at each charge on your record to make sure each charge is closed. Notice there's a second charge here, disorderly. The first charge was disturbing the peace. This second one is disorderly. And we'd have to look to all 8 cases on this record to see if they're all closed. And then how old are they? Does the 7-year felony waiting period, has that already passed? And is it closed out? Is the 3-year waiting period for misdemeanors closed out? So that's something that you and the CAP program can do together. Let me show you just one more sample CORI, and I only have a couple more slides, and then I'll pause for questions unless Gladys interrupts me.
Yes, we have a question. You
Oh,
tell me
sure, go
when you're
ahead.
ready. Okay. Is there a way for an individual to request their CORI, but so that it will only show what an employer might see?
I'm going
In
to answer that by directing you over to Mass Hire, who's the very next speaker. Mona from Mass Hire is going to tell you really good information about what an employer can see. I want to just remind you of one thing I did say, which is that your access to your own CORI is greater than what an employer can see, what most employers can see. And then I'll let Mona tell you in her presentation exactly what most employers can see in Massachusetts. If you have other questions about that, you can always sign up for the CAP program and talk to somebody in detail. I believe all three of us today have put our emails in the chat, so make sure you write those down if you think you will have a question. So let's look, I'm sorry, Gladys, was there any
there's
other?
another one.
Go ahead.
Okay, I thought you said dismissed, etc., can be sealed immediately. She's asking if it can be sealed immediately, a
What?
dismissed case.
Oh, a dismissed case has no waiting period. That's correct. So if it's dismissed, it's a non-conviction. Check out your own record just to make sure that's what it says. But if there's a non-conviction, there's no waiting period to try going to court. Keep in mind, it may take a couple months to get a hearing. You would want a lawyer with you to make the strongest possible argument to that judge, and the judge has full discretion. The judge can say, yes, I will seal, or no, I will not. If the judge denies your petition, then you can always try again. Any other questions, Gladys?
Not now. Thank you,
Okay,
Crispin.
sure. Oh, thanks for the questions, everybody. And I appreciate your assistance, Gladys. I will pause again in two more slides before I turn it over and ask if there are other questions, Gladys. So thank you, everybody. Keep writing your questions in. So let me just show you this second example of a CORI. Notice that the first horizontal gray bar is quite different. This doesn't say 1 of 8 anymore. This says 1 of 40. And I will tell you that all of these examples are very typical. We see short CORIs, we see very long CORIs, we see all kinds. So go get your own CORI. Sign up for the CAP program. It's very, very helpful for you to know what's on your own record. Now take a look at this one. This says felony is the most recent case. Unarmed robbery out of Chelsea. It ended with a non-conviction. Hopefully you follow with me. I'm just reading down the paragraph. The right status field is closed. So let's analyze this. Does it meet the criteria for sealing? Well, the null pros I mentioned before is the NP abbreviation here. This case ended without the prosecutor completing the prosecution. It was not prosecuted after the date to the left. So our disposition is a null pros. It's a non-conviction, and it happened that the case ended November 5 of 2019. Hopefully you all see where I'm reading. That disposition date is always going to be to the left of the disposition entered. So we now have a felony waiting period. I bet you all remember that a felony has a 7-year waiting period. This applies only to sealing by mail. Now, let's do math. You guys can help me out. Do the math with me. It's the disposition date plus 7. So it's November 5, 2019, plus the 7-year waiting period. The answer is this felony would be sealable by mail November 5 of 2026. And if this were me or you, we would not want to hear that we have to wait 3 more years. Here's the beauty of this first case. It tells us it's a non-conviction. And just like the person just asked that question, there's no waiting period to seal in court. You can file a petition with our help in the CAP program with a free attorney, but the judge can say yes or no. So it's not an automatic thing that this case can be sealed in court. If we try, you don't have to wait till 2026. But if we lose, you have a choice. You can either try again in court, hope for a different judge, or you can wait till 2026 and you can seal by mail as long as that waiting period is over. All right, let me go on to the next slide. And I think this might be the last one. So bear with me and then I'll pause for more questions. We have a couple things that are just awesome about sealing. The first you know already, which is that sealing hides the information from most people. So if I were you, I'd want to know, well, who can see a sealed record? Why should I bother? You will not be able to see your own sealed cases. Most employers and landlords will not be able to see anything sealed. However, it's important to remember that law enforcement, all levels of law enforcement, will always be able to see sealed cases. That means the Department of Correction, Department of Youth Services, probation, parole, prosecutors, judges, and all police at all levels. They will all be able to see a sealed case or cases. In addition, child protection can see your sealed matters. They see the whole record. And the theory is that they need to keep kids safe. So they and public safety officials will always be able to see sealed records. If you wanted to go work at the federal government, like work at an airport or work in the post office, the federal government also can see the whole record. There is no sealing at the federal level. So the federal authorities will always be able to see sealed cases. If you wanted to apply for a federally funded program, and I know there are federally funded housing subsidies, they will be able to see your whole record. But if you wanted to work at a regular Massachusetts employer, no connection federally, not related to child protection or law enforcement, they will not be able to see your sealed record. The second advantage of sealing is that if you seal everything, they allow you, by law, you are allowed to say, I have no record. And if you're 40, 50, 60 years old or older, it's been decades since you were able to say that. Now, I send you a little note of caution. If you have 5 things on your record and you seal 4 of them, there's still one matter that is likely visible on a background check. So just be careful. If you seal everything, and we support you in doing that, that's why the CAP program is out there to help you for free. If you seal everything, you're entitled by law to say, I have no record. Just don't do that on the side of the road if you get stopped by the police. They can see the whole thing. Don't let them accuse you of lying to them. Oh, I do have one more slide. I apologize. I wanted to give you a very brief overview of expungement, and then I will pause for questions and turn it over to Mass Hire. Expungement is narrow. It doesn't fit as many people as we would like, but here are 2 ways to expunge if you meet the criteria. You'd have to be under 21 at the time of your crimes to fit the first kind of expungement. And if you are under 21 at the time of those crimes, you cannot have more than 2 criminal cases anywhere. And the cases that you do have need to be very low level. Most people don't fit that criteria, so I will mention the second kind of expungement. And you can certainly call the CAP program and talk with a lawyer about a question you might have on expungement. Take our emails in the chat as well if you need to contact us. The second kind of expungement we're able to use much more frequently. This might apply if you have a gross error in the prosecution They lied, they planted evidence, they withheld critical evidence. Those are hard to prove. So those are more rare than not. But if beyond an error, if you have something on your record that's no longer a crime, possession of marijuana is the best example, then please come see us. You can expunge anything that is no longer a crime. So that now is the full presentation that I have. I'd like to pause and see if there are questions, and then I'll turn it over to Mass Hire.
Yes, Crispin, we have 2 more questions, I think. Okay. If a record is sealed, is anyone or any entity available to see the record, particularly if there is additional criminal behavior to be prosecuted?
So let me pause there. I think I just mentioned the folks that can see sealed cases. The federal government can see sealed cases if you apply for a federal job or a federal funded program. In addition, in Massachusetts, all levels of law enforcement can see sealed records, and Child Protective Services can see sealed records. No one else can.
There's a question here. What about EEC? I really don't know what.
Yes. EEC is the Department of Early Education and Care.
Okay.
They license daycare centers and other child serving locations. EEC is part of Child Protective Services. They can see sealed records.
And there's another question here. Will presenters' contact information and slides be sent out to all registrants after the presentation? I think I can answer that. No, we will not send the slides, but right now we are sharing our contact information in the chat.
Thank you for your patience, everyone. I'm going to turn it over with one more comment. If there's anyone on the Zoom right now who's a staff member just looking to help get information to help a client, I'd like you to take my email because I have a much more in-depth training that I offer for free to staff members. So just contact me and we can give you the details. Thank you so much. And I'm now going to turn it over to Mona, who has a lot of really critical information about what we can offer you through Mass Hire.
All right, thank you very much and good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to say that we are not sending out the slides, but this is being recorded and we'll be putting it on our website. So you will have the chance to review this recording if you choose to do so at a later date. Hopefully we'll get that up in the website in the next couple of weeks, or at least by the beginning of the year. In any case, feel free to give me a call and ask me questions at any time. I did put my contact information in the chat. So welcome everyone. I'm just going to talk for a little bit longer about the CORI assistance program and give you a little more information on our services. So I'll share my screen now to go over some of that information, and then you can definitely continue to put your questions in the Q&A, and we'll be happy to answer them once the presentation is over. So Know Your CORI Rights, Navigating Employment When You Have a Criminal Record is the name of this presentation. And I just want to tell you a little bit about our program here at Mass Hire Holyoke. I am the program director of the Reentry and Recovery Program. We offer employment support services, including job application assistance, helping you develop your resume, interview skills, job matching and job development, career exploration. There's many training opportunities at any time that we're happy to tell you about. And then, of course, assistance obtaining a copy of your CORI and putting you in contact with the Western New England School for Social Justice, who can then talk to you about your CORI and what's on it and whether or not it can be sealed. So I'll give you a little bit more information about that and how to get in contact with us on the CAP program at the end of this slideshow. First, just want to talk a little bit about finding employment when you have a CORI. It's something that we are very available to talk with you about at any point and try to give you some tips and some help with looking for employment if that's something that is concerning to you. These are just some tips about preparing all your materials ahead of time. Make sure you have your resume, cover letter, people who that can be your references. We can give you some tips on that, as well as 2 forms of identification. So preparation is the key here. Really targeting your industry and seeing what industries are receptive to hiring individuals with a CORI. I'll show you a slide in a moment, some key industries that are or are not receptive. Being knowledgeable about your CORI, that's a lot about what we're talking about today. So get a copy of your CORI, seek legal advice if you can. There's a lot of help out there to help you kind of navigate that a little bit. We're going to talk in a minute about what employers can and can't see. That should be helpful in your search as well. Cleaning up your social media, deleting any appropriate pictures or posts, and really starting to cultivate the positive image, making some positive comments on different sites. Because as you are on social media, whatever is the most recent thing is the thing that comes up first. So just remember that when you're working with social media, that your most recent information is going to be what's up there first when people Google you. Learn what resources are available to you. So like I said, we have training opportunities. There's the work opportunity tax credit. That's a credit that's given to employers of $2,500 for hiring somebody who has a criminal record. So that is a program that's in place, including the federal bonding program, which is a similar program for at-risk populations. And number 6 here, we have reach out to local organizations for help. Of course, our program, there's many, many others. There's also the All-Inclusive Support Services program in Springfield. We will be happy to refer you to wherever you need to go and whatever information you need to find. So as I mentioned before, there are industries that are more or less receptive to hiring individuals with a CORI. And you can see this list here. The list that says less receptive, that doesn't mean it's completely out of the question. For instance, the health and medical fields. There are some private agencies that may be a little more receptive, but this is just giving you an idea of where it's going to be a lot more difficult. Definitely with the public schooling system, as Crispin was mentioning, state and federal agencies, anything that has to do with childcare or nursing facilities, really those vulnerable populations, they're going to be running your criminal record, and they will be able to see charges that other employers will not be able to see. Okay, ban the box. So this is a law in the state of Massachusetts. It doesn't really apply to every state, but it does apply to Massachusetts. So we're really fortunate in this state that employers cannot ask about your criminal record on a written job application. So what does that do? Of course, that helps you get your foot in the door, right? So that's something that we can help you navigate a little bit more as well. How to put together the resume and deal with job history, gaps perhaps, and that kind of thing. This law helps a lot to help you get that first step, which is the interview, of course. Once you're in the interview, they are able to ask you about your criminal history. But of course, at that point, you can kind of try your case and give some positive information about everything you've done, to change the circumstances and all that you're doing to move forward in life. Background checks. So employers can only inquire about your CORI after obtaining a written signature from an applicant that authorizes the background check. So if you hear of employers that are running CORIs without your authorization, that is definitely against the law. And that's something that will need to be addressed. You should seek legal assistance for. So what most employers can see are open cases. Misdemeanor convictions less than 5 years and felony convictions less than 10 years. So that's it right there. When you run your CORI, you're going to have everything, including non-convictions, dismissed cases. Everything will be there for you, but that is not everything that employers will be able to see. This is it right here. Aside from those exceptions that I already spoke about, most employers will only be able to see open cases and convictions. What they cannot see are non-convictions or misdemeanor convictions older than 5 years, felony convictions older than 10 years, juvenile cases, sealed cases, as Crispin mentioned as well, and out-of-state or federal records. So our program only works in the state of Massachusetts. It will not be applicable to those who have records outside of Massachusetts. Then you see there some of the exceptions to this about what employers cannot see, such as public schools, state offices, post offices. There's several different agencies there that are mentioned. All right, we call this the 30-second drill. So when you are in an interview, we say maintain eye contact, be direct, be sincere, be calm, have confidence in yourself. Do not retry your case or become angry. Make yourself appear as though you are the victim. Remember, people are looking for your value as an employee. And of course, all of us have an amazing, array of skills to offer. So you should really be thinking of who you are as in work, and as opposed to trying to retry your case or spinning the story of the past. And here we come to the CORI Assistance Program. This is, there's a QR code there. You can also find information about it on our website, which I'll go to in a moment just to show you how to access it. But basically what this does for you is you can apply for a copy of your CORI. We'll get that for you free of charge. You must have a valid Mass driver's license or ID to be a part of this program. Once you get a copy of the CORI, we can refer you to the Western New England School of Law Center for Social Justice, and they will be able to take a look at that CORI and see if there's any sealable cases on it, and provide you with some assistance. So that is the information that I have. I'm just going to quickly show you where on our website you'll be able to get to that CORI assistance page. But here's my contact information. I did put it in the chat as well. That Gmail is a general Gmail. In the chat, I gave you my personal email. So please do not hesitate to give me a call or email me if you have any additional questions or are not able to navigate the CAP program. I'm here to help. So please don't hesitate. And let me just quickly go to our website now. So as you can see up here, we've got the address masshireholyoke.org. If you come over here to specialized services, there's the reentry and recovery services. This sidebar here is the CORI Assistance Program. If I click on that, it will bring me to the page where you can request a copy of your CORI. So scan down the page here. It looks like this. And all you do is click right here on this center button, request, CORI request form. Once you click on that, it's going to take you to a series of documents that you can fill out electronically. This first one is a registration form because everybody has to be a member of Mass Hire in order to take part in this program. And then there's a series of documents after this. Once you get to the very end, you just fill out all the starred areas. Once you get to the very end, it will say submit. We'll get a copy of your documents, and then we'll be in contact with you to find out how you want us to get the copy of the CORI to you. We can either email it or you can come in person and pick it up.
And
All
Mona,
right, so that will do it for me. And
I have a question for you, Mona.
yes.
I was, it's a question from one of the participants, is I was told that they cannot ask your record until after they offer you a position. I think you mentioned it, but if you would like to
Yeah, sure.
hear it again, yes.
That's not the case. Actually, ban the box. The only thing it does for you is it does keep employers from asking about your criminal record during the application when you're filling out the application and sending it in. But once you are in the interview, they can ask about your criminal record. They do have a right to ask you about that. However, they can't, like I said, they cannot run your CORI without your written authorization. So no employer should be doing that. For
Let
sure.
me check if we have any other question. Are there similar re-entry programs throughout the mass hire offices? Or is this specific to Hampden County?
This program can be offered across the state, the CAP program, so that anybody can apply for the CAP program as long as you have a Massachusetts ID. In terms of the reentry and recovery services, different mass hires have different programs. I could, depending on which one you're interested in, I could find out if they have a specific reentry and recovery program. You know, all mass hires will definitely attend to all customers, no matter who they are. We just have specialized programs in our program that we can offer people, and not all mass hires do, unfortunately. But there are services available to anyone. So if you want to contact me, I can definitely find out if there's something available in your area.
Let me see, there's another. Okay, someone mentioning that she would like the one for Springfield mass hire. Yes, I would like the one for Springfield mass hire.
Okay, I can definitely give you their contact information. And they will definitely, they will definitely attend to whatever you're interested in. They don't have a specific re-entry and recovery program, but they will attend to all customers. And we can definitely also help you with whatever your needs are in the Springfield area.
Okay.
There are no more questions?
Let me check again. I don't see any other question.
All right, so we'll just give a couple more minutes here for any other final questions. Again, we have information in the chat. Crispin's information is in the chat, as well as mine. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us if you have any additional questions. This recording will be on our website, hopefully soon. We have to make sure that it's in good shape. And we'll put that on the website if you want to take a look at those slides again at some point in the future. Thank you everyone for coming to this
Here's
afternoon.
another question. Do you have to disclose pending charges?
Do you have to disclose pending charges?
Charges. I think this question is for Crispin.
Is that for
Mona, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm assuming that you're talking about in the interview. You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to disclose any of your charges in the interview at all. But if they are asking you a direct question, which isn't really usually the case, usually employers would say, we run a background check, You know, do you have any concerns with that? You know, they'll say something of that nature. If an employer does come out and directly ask you, you know, about your direct charges, you don't need to go into specifics about anything. You can give as much or as little information as you want. My recommendation would be to just give very brief information and then start to talk about, you know, what you're doing to move forward and why you're a good candidate for the position and that kind of thing.
I wanted to add that if anybody who's here today knows of somebody who's not here today who could benefit from the information in the video or the CAP program, we all hope that you will share this information. In other words, share the Mass Hire Holyoke website and the Center for Social Justice website information for the Western New England Law School. There are resources now to help people in Western Mass with their CORIs, and we very much hope that you spread the word if anyone could benefit.
Yes, and I would like to share again our phone number at the Center for Social Justice is 413-796-2101.